Alright, so listen. Post Malone, new album, Hollywood's bleeding. I'm bleeding, not really, but I'm trying to see if Post is bleeding in this new album. And where are we bleeding? Hopefully emotionally and not physically, because then that would mean Post wouldn't be here to deliver any more music. I'll be sad, you'll be sad, he'll be dead. What I do want is for this album to be great. I heard Circles already. I heard Sunflower. I heard Wow. I heard Goodbyes. That's 4 singles already off this thing that I've heard already. And I've also heard a little bit of Internet, but that was months ago when it leaked and it actually had a Kanye feature. Can't help it, alright? I'm just a dirty boy. I see a leak, it's like a body. I need to go see it. I just want to poke it. The singles that I've gotten so far from this project that I've already heard have been pretty poppy, pretty bright, pretty lively, and pretty sunny as far as their atmosphere is concerned. So I don't know if that's going to be the aesthetic for the rest of the album. I do like when Post Malone goes into darker territory, so hopefully we don't get too little of that, but I guess we'll see what happens. You know, Post Malone, Hollywood's bleeding. Let's get right into it. I just want to hear it. This is like the soundtrack.
Hollywood's bleeding, trying to chase a feeling, but we'll never feel it. Riding on bleeding, but we call it.
Put it all together. Oh my God! Yes. Yo, this is great. All right, first track, Love. I'm sorry. All right, I know people want me to hate Post Malone. I already know it. Based off the music that's probably on this wall, based off the music that I usually say I'm interested in, I guess people would think that you just shouldn't get enjoyment out of music like that. But I never really looked to Post Malone for the same type of material I go to other people for. And like I said, he does walk the line. He does have a healthy balance of radio appeal and also something as a singer that's more than just what you'd find in regular standard pop music. He's not too deep, but he's a little bit below the surface when it comes to the requirements of your average really popular artist. I know a lot of people also complained to me about the vibrato in his voice, and I do still hear that in the intro song here. Like I said, it's something that I'm definitely looking at and I'm not really that impressed with anymore, but as far as the singing is concerned, I still think it's pretty decent. And as far as the ideology here, when it comes to what I got as far as content off of his last project, Beerbongs and Bentley's, I gotta say, when I listened to that project, again, thematically, it was a very strong theme that was overlooked by many of the people that came out with thoughts on the project, and it pretty much was him going through this relationship, then by the end of it coming back to himself in his own possessions, seeing that he didn't really need that at all. And if I am to continue my overanalyzation with how I feel about music and themes that are within it, and how I feel about the Hollywood bleeding theme right now, I would assume that these are the consequences to living with your possession. Once that love has somewhat abandoned you, you then come back to this lack of fulfillment with these possessions. Leeches and vampires, as he says in the beginning, start to come and swarm you. You begin to lose a sense of yourself. And the transition here is just great. When the drums come in, it is the best feeling ever. It's just great. His flow adapts to the change, the transition of the beat. His flow adapts to it. I love it. Second track is Saint-Tropez. I don't know. Alright, I know you gotta deal with Bud Light, but come on, man. Like, Bud Light running through my piss after you just got done talking about Versace on your dick. I don't need to hear that. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I don't have anything against it. I don't need to hear it. I guess this track speaks more to what to do with the money and the wealth that you acquire once you become successful. But as a track itself is really too simple and way too formulaic, especially for the appeal I feel that, you know, Post Malone has. I don't feel like this song really plays to any of his strengths like that. It would be much more suited for a more standardized rapper that doesn't really know how to sing that well. But again, there's no need for Post to delve into the more, I guess, primitive form of what he knows as hip-hop or rapping if he's able to sing a little bit better. I don't know why he's doing that, but hey, I don't really feel the track like that. Get off my dick. Track number 3 is Enemies with DaBaby. This about to be fire.
I would never get this swallow your
pride. Yeah. I love you.
Back in the post and I'm home alone. When the box in the door to go for 35.
Back in the post and I'm home alone. Fuck this dude.
Used to have friends, now I got enemies. enemies.
Another really good track to me. I really enjoyed DaBaby's feature. It fit really well over this, and for it to tackle subject matter that's a little bit darker. The sunny vibe and the aesthetic is still there. It's still really bright, which is a little odd to me, but I'm not hating on it for that. It is something that a lot of people who think people are hating on them for absolutely no reason, when really you might just be a shitty person or you might have a shitty personality. It's going to be a song for them because they'll be able to blindly just throw whatever criticisms fall their way off on the other people and say, I got enemies, I got enemies. But in totality, I think it's a really good track. I really enjoy it. It's really catchy. His singing is really nice here. Again, the bravado is still here. We're still there with it. It's really tolerable here. I do think the transition from the first part of the chorus to the second is a little shaky based off of the upper register that he has to go into to transition it. You know, it would be a little bit smoother if he just kept the enemies a little bit more, you know, a little bit lower, but I mean, it is what it is. Just a little pet peeve of mine. Track number 4 is Allergic. I don't know about this. I don't know what I would categorize this as. It does sound really generic. I feel like I definitely have heard it before. I don't know what lane I'd throw it in. It doesn't make as many statements as a rock song. I definitely maybe would throw it into the indie pop category, but yeah, I think for the track to do so little and be so generic, it really could stand out. He could really stand out a little bit more vocally. And maybe because there's nothing happening with the track, I'm feeling so mixed on it. This is a relationship filled with toxicity. But yeah, I mean, it's about, it's fucking trash. It's really hit or miss. Track number 5, 1,000 Bad Times. Beautiful. That's really sad, but I really like this song. I fuck with these lines. We're not getting too experimental with the instrumental palette here, but one thing I really do appreciate is just how expressive and I guess telling the lyrics of this song particularly are, and it seems to illustrate exactly the vibe or the feeling that I've gotten from a lot of these tracks so far, is consistently looking for a reason to justify your stay in Hollywood, or justify your stay in this relationship, or justify your actions, justify what you do. Because you want it to make sense, you want it to have a reason, you want it to mean something, but it doesn't sometimes, and you're trying to make yourself, or you're trying to stay with it or be consistent with this thing or this action to kind of make yourself feel comfortable or okay with the fact that you're spending so much time and wasting so much time and bullshitting, basically. You keep doing it knowing the outcome because you want it to be different, but you know it won't be. And that's a sentiment that you can apply to a relationship, but I'm going to apply it in this case when it comes to Mr. Malone here, to his stay in Hollywood and this lack of fulfillment that he's getting. Another thing I need to highlight about Post Malone, as far as when he's singing, when it comes to the hooks, he dominates. Because the hooks always, they lead into this really explosive, very energetic hook a lot of times. Like just leading into the pre-chorus and leading into the hook, I think he dominates in that field. I've already heard Circles. You guys know my thoughts on it. In track number 7 here, we got Die For Me featuring Future and Halsey. I don't know about this one.
Blood in your veins, yeah, I know it's frozen.
Sometimes it'll hit you with one, right? Like, put your blood in your veins. I know that shit is frozen. You cold-hearted bitch.
Know that it was you who got the gun and had to save them. Remember I had a really bad feeling, you've been lying to me.
I like Future here. This is great. Kill that shit, Future. So one thing I will definitely give this track is I like how they each have their own respective verses, like, and they all can do their own hooks. I really like that. Only thing with Halsey, I think she just sounds overly processed here in comparison to maybe Post Malone and Future. I guess they're kind of reasonably mastered and mixed, but I feel like she's just a little, I don't know, there's a point in there where it sounds like she's, like a robot or something. In all, though, I do like her lines. I still liked her contributions to the track. I like Future, and I like Post Malone. This track is, it is very somber, but it does have a beach-like atmosphere in the back. It still does, which helps to paint this, I guess, picture of seclusion, in my opinion. Maybe you are dealing with a lot and you're doing it by yourself. Clearly, this track is about the betrayal of a relationship, so, I mean, I don't know if you feel alone when you're together, if it's trying to deliver that kind of vibe. Not my favorite track, but still a good track. Next track is On the Road with Meek Mill, and is that Lil Baby?
Always keep one up on them cause I'm too clever. While I'm taking a shit, look at the plaques on the wall.
I don't need these images in my head.
Blowing me up. Get the fuck out my face, can you stop blowing me up?
The way he transitions from his verse to the hook is great, man.
Richard Jeff Bezos, say it again.
Sorry, Meek just sounds like he's in the zone. Every feature I've been getting from him for the remainder of this year, he's just been doing his fucking job.
Bags in my neck, driving fast and I won't crash and I'm so.
This track also has this kind of aquatic, echoey feel to it as well. It feels like there's a lot of space for them all to rap. I do think Post Malone, like I said, dominates the hook, and there is a lot to the hook. I like Baby's verse, even though he feels a little bit smothered, or he sounds a little bit smothered. Meek absolutely destroys his feature. I think Post Malone did a really good job with this track as well, and I really like the aquatic and the echoey feel to it. It makes me feel like he's really secluded, or there's a lot of space here, or it's just him in the room. And this track is all about working hard and seeing the fruits of your labor, seeing the benefit and what you strive to be, what you strive to do, your goals, your plans, and seeing them come to fruition. Track number 9 is Take What You Want featuring Ozzy. We got Black Sabbath in the building and Travis Scott. I have no idea. Was that Post? How did the strings get somber?
You crumble in my arms down to your. You take what you want from me, take what you need from me.
I'm so sorry.
Why don't you take what you want? Trying to follow
I can't. My insides are swelling up right now. What for me? Take what you need from me. Dog. This track is like, I haven't seen the new Joker movie, and I haven't seen the new El Camino Breaking Bad movie yet. This track is better than both of those. I haven't really listened to Black Sabbath much since, like, you know, they're self-titled and they're Master of Reality, but I haven't felt like that was really that intro gave me really good, like, real goosebumps. I don't know what has been up with people using the electric guitar for their outros and just showing off. I know they definitely did it on the I think it's the Lay Down with Dram and Her. That was another track that features amazing guitar. I'm impressed with how Travis Scott transitioned into the track. I'm impressed with how they were all singing at the end. I'm impressed with Ozzy's intro and just letting him handle the chorus and the hook and giving him such a huge part of this song. I thought was just a great idea. Now, he doesn't have an official verse, but just that part, just that alone is enough to make the track a standout. All in all, this still encompasses the idea of what all of them must have felt like. I mean, they're all rock stars in their own respective lane, in their own way. All of them have had extreme success, so they can all relate to the subject matter of this track, of a failing relationship, of trying to keep things working, trying to make sure things are stable and not being able to do so. And also the theme of Hollywood's bleeding, like finding what it is that you're supposed to do and having just a lack of overall satisfaction, being the stepping stone and the doormat for some chick to come in and, you know, take what they want from you. Incredibly enjoyable track. Oh my god. Next track is I'm Gonna Be.
Keep on pouring till I'm fucked up. Oh yeah. I rock that shit but not for long.
Fucking god. I gotta tell you, I'm honestly impressed. 10 tracks in. Let me shut up. No, I'm gonna keep talking. 10 tracks in, this is easily Post Malone's best album, his best overall body of work. Easily. This is fucking fantastic. What is that, like a smothered guitar in the back? Smothered strings or some shit like that? And then you got the bass that comes in. And then his flow and his cadence is complementary to it. I'm really impressed.
We live this life but not for long. So I'm going hard till I'm gone, till I'm gone, till I'm gone. Yeah. Can you feel it?
I don't know how I feel about the vocal transition in the hook. I'm not 100%.
I'm gonna be what I want, what I want, what I want.
The one thing I really like about this track, despite me not being so crazy about the vocal transition from his verse to the upper register of the hook, because I'm not really sure if he dominates that aspect, especially when there's so much less bravado, VVS vagina over his voice. And when I look at this track, it seems and sounds so freeing and so minimalist. Like, there's not too much going on instrumentally, but when he's singing, he goes into the upper register. It's like he's so free. It's like he's living in this reality that he's built for himself, and he's just free of any shackles or any restraints. And then the lyrics indicate that too. You know, I'm gonna be what I want. I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna feel who I want. Like, that's essentially what this track is. Very freeing, and I like that. Next track is Staring at the Sun featuring SZA.
Get out, but girl, what I can.
Post, if I go to one of your shows, I'm throwing my panties on the stage, all right? I'm just telling you. You better give her a chance on the hook. You better let her sing the hook. All right, this track is a little cheesy. I'm not gonna lie.
You should walk away.
Lyrically, I think that would fit a Disney Channel soundtrack without the fucks. I don't know how I feel again about the instrumental palette here. I do think it is very reminiscent of music that is 5-10 years prior, even longer than that. But you know, I just think that they have such a heavy presence over the track that they're redeeming it, even if it has its, you know, imperfections, or it has its shortcomings, or it's not really that interesting or engaging. I do think that they're redeeming enough for the track to be okay or listenable. It's another pop song, but it's a little bit more of the cheesier of them all here. So I don't know how frequently I'm going to return to it. Track number 13 is titled Internet. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Sunflower. I've heard it already with Swae Lee. We're going to go to track number 13, which is Internet.
Paranoid since I've been leaking my shit. Wonder if it'll come out on the way. Doing this shit and we all know that. It on the internet no more. It's a love.
Why'd this go orchestral? Yeah, I like this track or the theme of it, but I do think it's very underbaked and it's pretty underwritten. The version I heard, you know, from what I remember, was the Kanye joint. I don't remember it having such an orchestral ending or closing. And also, like I said, I think one thing that I do think about this track that is really funny is that he complained at one point, I think, about leaked music, and this track was leaked like, I don't know, like 4 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that. But yeah, I do think that this track is incredibly underwritten, and they go into like this transition way too early. Not to say that the track was really doing a crazy amount for me beforehand, but it could have used a feature, or it could have used a longer verse or a better written verse. You know, I get that it's detailing, you know, issues or problems or the state of the internet, but doesn't really do much, you know. I've heard Goodbyes with Young Thug, and next track is Myself.
Second cousin lives in Orlando.
Please don't talk about cousin fucking.
Oh, let's not give a fuck till I make so much.
This track, I feel like I've heard it before. I feel like it samples something. I think the point of this track is just like, okay, the life that I live essentially requires that I travel, but I never really get to experience or enjoy the places that I work at, you know. I go to all these places, but I don't actually get to sit down and take them in. Track number 17 I've already heard, which is Wow, but we're gonna end at track number 16, I Know.
Till I was a sucker. Shout out Jonas Brothers. I learned more than I knew left. Shit was never right.
Can we like bury that every time left and right bar? Can we just like get rid of that, please?
You can never be my bitch. Shit, I know you again. Found you and you can never be my bitch. No, no.
I'm eating tonight, bro. These some nice lines. You can never be my bitch. You can never be my bitch. This is a track, from what I've interpreted, that is pretty much you telling someone, hey, we could never work based off the fuck shit that you do. You know, you got a hold on me. We can do some things in private, but I mean, other than that, you know, it's nothing else we can do because you moving grimy out here. And the final track was Wow. I also really enjoyed Wow. I've been listening to that one for about, I forgot how long ago Wow came out, but it was a while back, and I've enjoyed that ever since it came out. So Post Malone with this Hollywood's Bleeding album. I am, again, like I said, impressed. The amount of singles, the amount of replayability a good portion of this album has. I think one of his strongest attributes is just his ability to utilize himself as the most dominant and the most entertaining part of a song. You know, the Ozzy Osbourne track was fantastic, and not just fantastic because of him, but I look at tracks like that, and then I think about someone like a Travis Scott, whose appeal lies within the production and within this kind of dead style delivery that he adds to the track, almost as if the production is what's bringing him to life, like a Frankenstein effect, I've called it before. But Post Malone is one of those artists that has all of the appeal within himself and brings so much value to a lot of the instrumentals and brings so much value and entertainment to a lot of these songs. And it's a lot that wouldn't be there without him, which makes me more confident in him and his ability much more than the average pop artist, you know, even though he's making a lot of pop music on this record. Thematically here, I think we follow the theme of the BEERBONGS and Bentley's album. And again, Hollywood's Bleeding here is just one of those moments of pure insanity. And I say insanity because we see him on this album going into a lot of situations he already knows the outcome to, but wanting something different to occur, wanting something different to happen. This is easily his most insane project yet, because he's literally running around in circles. Then by the end of the album, he comes to no clearer of a resolution than the beginning of the album. It doesn't seem that he's learned enough or learned much at all. And I do think that that helps the theme of this project a lot more, because it doesn't say Hollywood's dead, it says Hollywood's bleeding, meaning that I'm in pain, there's blood loss, there's this lack of fulfillment, there's something that I need to prevent this pain, to prevent this error, to heal this wound, but it's just not gonna happen. And much more than just Post Malone, he's not the only artist that's gonna go through that. There are a lot more elements on this project that fuse, you know, pop, you know, hip hop, indie. I do like that because it appeals more to what Post Malone has said that he's wanted to do, as opposed to what I felt was a little bit more disingenuous earlier in his career when he says that he didn't want to be considered a rapper, but he was rapping over hip-hop beats. Excluding how clean those beats were and how well mixed and mastered those beats were, they were still under the veil of hip-hop. Here there are a little bit more fusions, a little bit more transitions. Some of the transitions that do occur aren't really that impressive, like the one on Internet, for example, where I feel like it's done just to switch up the monotony that the track would ultimately have if he made it longer. The orchestral change in it just is odd to me. But other than that, Hollywood's Bleeding, Enemies, 1,000 Bad Times, Circles, Die For Me, On The Road, Take What You Want is the greatest, one of the greatest tracks I've heard this year. Easily. I don't care what anyone says. Hate if you want to. Sunflower, Goodbyes, Myself, I Know, Wow. It's a really good album. I do enjoy it. It's a really good album. And sure, people are going to come at the project for it not having that much in terms of subject matter. But again, if you've heard Post Malone's projects up until this point, you pretty much know what you're going to get. It's up to him pretty much to deliver it in a different way. Much like I would expect from a Young Thug, a DaBaby, much like I would expect from a Lil Uzi. I don't go to these people for subject matter necessarily. I go to them for the way they can twist their delivery and their styles and refreshen themselves and present it to me, the listener. And that's how I rank their new projects and their new work, based off of how they're able to refine themselves and their strengths, not necessarily their lyrics, because I know their talent and their value doesn't lie within their lyrics solely. But even still, I think Post Malone does describe the relationship agony and the pain and the wounds that he's experiencing at multiple moments on this project in a pretty good way. Much better than, again, a standard pop artist. So with Post Malone, Hollywood's Bleeding, I'm going to give it an... Really enjoyed this project way more than I thought I would, especially given the tracks that were released prior, but all the tracks that were released prior I did somewhat enjoy, so I don't know why I felt that way. Easily Post Malone's best work, in my opinion. You can disagree, but that's how I feel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Let me know what your favorite tracks were in the comment section down below, and I will see you next time. I'm out. Don't know what I'm doing with my hands. Peace.